Hello and welcome to the Interior Design Business. My name is Jeff Hayward and I'm joined by my co-host Susie Rumbold, past president of the British Institute of Interior Design and creative director of Txtured Interiors, in front of a live audience of designers at the Design Central Northwest event, Capesthorne Hall in Cheshire. A short promotional message before we start. The series is actually sponsored by one of the exhibitors here, so please go and see Natural Mat because they are very supportive of us, so I'd be very grateful if you did that. Okay, today we will be discussing awkward clients and how to manage them.
It has often been said that interior design would be a great job if it wasn't for the clients. They can be unappreciative, indecisive and unreasonable even when their project is on track, and bellicose, belligerent and litigious when things begin to go wrong. In fact, the designer-client relationship, which often starts as a love affair, can sometimes end tragically in the bitterest of divorces. But is there really such a thing as an awkward client? Or are any problems just down to poor communication? What can make a good client turn bad, and how can designers effectively manage this most important and sensitive of relationships? Welcome to the Interior Design Business.
Now, we are joined by two Northern Design Award winners for this discussion, Simon Mayhew from Txtured and James Roberts from James Roberts Interiors. Welcome both to the show.
Thank you very much.
So now, before we begin, I was hoping that you might just take a couple of minutes, each of you, to give us a brief introduction to yourselves, your practices, the types of projects that you do and how long you've been in operation. So, Simon, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So my name's Simon. I spent the beginning of my career 10 years on the West End in musicals. And then I launched my own agency. So I then became an agent for actors. So I was amazed at how many skills are transferred from dealing with celebrity clients in TV and film to just normal clients. It's exactly the same. They're all the same, which has been wild. I've got a studio called Txtured in Spinning Fields in Manchester, and we do high-end residential and commercial projects. And we're now going into our third year.
And James?
Okay, my name's James Roberts. I started out in engineering, so I came from quite a different background. Then a short stint at Sandhurst, which is relevant probably for a conversation later. Always knew I wanted to be a product designer, design things, and then moved on to Royal College of Art in London to do industrial design, product design there. Worked in consultancy in product design for about 5 years, and then moved into packaging design, graphic design, furniture design into interiors. And the practice has been going for about 15 years purely in interiors. And here we are today. Also high-end resi and commercial projects.
Fantastic. So let's talk about getting off on the right foot with clients. When you're taking an initial brief, Simon, do you want to take this one? How do you make sure that you have really nailed down those essential client requirements?
I think when I first meet the client, I get into a place where it's super relaxed. I love getting into, I sit with a coffee. I tell them a lot about my life. So they really open about their brief and kind of really what they're wanting. And then as we're going through the concept stage, it's really, I always sort of say, you've got to really imagine you being here. We're having a thing at the minute where we're putting this beautiful curved door in, and the client wanted doors to go in, but there's a step instead of your kitchen. And she was adamant she wanted these doors, but I was like, really think about how that step is going to feel with the door. So that's how I really try and keep to the brief, because they wanted a really nice free-flowing space. So it's just going over everything really, really early on and really sort of getting their reactions to the suggestions that you're giving.
Okay, same for you, James?
Yeah, I'd say looking back to product days, I think a lot of buyers have made buying decisions not based on conscious thought, a lot of subconscious thought. And so we're designing triggers to so that someone would buy a certain particular product. And the same with interiors. And I think for me, it's a question of time. It's not great commercially, but the more time we can give at the front end of the project to understand the problem in its fullest, the better. And because what a client will tell you day one is not what they want. We don't know, but we have to obviously go down that journey, question why, what if, and so that.
So do you have ways that you operate where you can test the accuracy of a brief?
Yeah, definitely.
Stress tested?
Yeah, definitely. Without knowing what the answer is, it's not to prejudge or preload or assume what the correct answer is. But yeah, definitely, you give a client what they're asking for, your interpretation of it, left of center, right of center, curveball. It's a bit like in Place in the Sun, those kind of programs where there's always that wild card, because you know that a client, when presented something that they are not familiar with, there's a good chance they'll bite. And I think getting them on the back foot, a client on the back foot early, is a great way to put you in a position of leadership. And I think that's it, that there is initially, you're going to them with a question, what would you like? Which puts them in that driving seat. And I think to quickly get them out of that and for you to lead is where you want to be.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. What about you, Simon?
Yeah, I agree. I think just kind of what you're saying about, getting exactly what they're wanting and just sort of giving them new ideas, because they've got you in for new ideas. So you've got to try and gauge how moldable they're going to be, because some just aren't moldable. And you're just sort of giving them exactly what they want, which you need to, obviously, because they're home.
Yeah.
But the idea of bringing a designer in is to bring new products and new ideas. And so you've got to gauge it with every person.
And Simon, I sense that you've got a few tricks up your sleeve for really getting under the skin of a client. I mean, it goes beyond looking at them on Google, for example, doesn't it?
Yeah, I definitely don't do anything like that, because not everything's on Google. I just try and tell them about my life and what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, we're doing a new farmhouse project, and I told them I was going to Boston in 2 weeks. And they're like, oh my God, we've been to Boston, you need to go here and here. So the more you tell them about your life, the more they're engaging with you. I went to Stamala for my 40th birthday. And again, I was telling the clients what I was doing, and they were like, oh my God, the interiors, they're amazing. So I got a real sense, even then, really what they loved. So I told them about my life, and then they opened about theirs to me.
Interesting. Do you open up to your clients as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. There are times when you have a good chunk of time with clients, and others when you literally on an hour Zoom call on the other side of the world, and it's very difficult. Again, I think referencing time again, the period of time that you're learning about that client and developing the brief can be months. But it's a slow burn. And you can plant seeds and make suggestions on email or face to face, and then let them sit with it, and you see their position shift. So I think that, and then in terms of your personal life, I think with age is huge. I didn't realize a big birthday this year, and it kind of dawned on me that this imposter syndrome that I think a lot of designers have should be killed. The earlier you can kill that, the better. But certainly with age, that is a big influence, the big mechanism by which you can kill that. And I find myself bringing, I guess, my personal life, even direction with the business. Work in Mallorca, for example, is intentional because I like the sunshine. So it's unashamedly, okay, do that, and learning to play paddle, and then the paddle, scene here is booming, and that it's your clients who, travel internationally, play paddle, for example. It's like the new golf, I suppose.
Yeah.
And you connect with them on that. You say, let's go for a match, or etc. And yeah, these are the times, the golden age.
To counteract that, though, I don't know what you think. Sometimes because I'm so giving at the beginning, and I'm so open, I really want to get them into the journey and be really personable. When it can go wrong, it can feel even worse because you've been so personal and open at the beginning. So you do form this really solid friendship. It feels like you're friends with them. It's really exciting. And then in a blink of an email, the whole thing turns, and then that's really difficult to manage because you've been on this friendly basis for so long, and you've been so open personally. Yeah. And then when it does change, that's quite hard. It's quite jarring. So you've got...
Are there any client categories that you avoid?
Give me a category.
Well, I'm just, people that won't give enough time to their projects, for example.
Yeah, I'm too busy to look at that, I'm sorry, kind of client.
You don't find that out until you probably already see it. At the beginning, if they replied to emails too quickly and I know they haven't read it right at the beginning, I'm like, have you read the process document properly? Yeah, all good. But have you really understood it, and do you have any questions? They're a bit red flag.
Yeah, absolutely.
Until you're in it, it's really difficult to really gauge until
It's like how early do those warning bells start ringing, I suppose.
Warning bells, and I'd then say compassion. I think compassion is huge, because if you steal a moment and pause and think, okay, well, why? Okay, that can be a great client, because that same scenario, you think, well, they need this interior.
Yeah.
How else are they going to do it? If they're like this, we just need to have an understanding that, okay, this is, if we're going to do this, if it's acceptable to use a design and a design outfit to operate that way, to lay it down and say, well, we can work like this. This is how we'll communicate, when, in what format. And if that works, great. And you sort of set those boundaries, because, then you just know how you're going to proceed going forward.
I think sometimes as well, working out who the client is and who's going to be paying the bills might be sometimes a little blurred. So how do you identify who is actually the client?
Yeah, it's a good one, because who's paying the bills, it's calling the shots, the key decision maker. Could be a gatekeeper, could be family office, could be the end client, could be husband, wife. It's every project is different. We all experience that. I think again, this compassion thing is something I keep coming back to. If you're sensitive, most designers are, creators are. You're empaths, and you're picking up the signals. You know how to respond to one and the other. The key decision maker, or the one paying the bills, might not be obviously the one making the decisions. They might be completely clear, step back, say, well, I'm signing the checks, but this is not my bag, and this is down for someone else or someone else's project. Fine. You just have to read every situation, and understand. I think it invites you in to understand people's why, and it comes back to the brief. It's, why are you doing this? We have a project at the minute, and the client is a couple, lovely couple, but you just sense there's something in their history that you need to be extra sensitive to in listening and interpreting. So when they're asking for safety, you think something's happened here with this client, and you can't even talk about it. But if you then tune into that and okay, well, let's just try this line with how we orientate the space, and some of the touches and signals, the colors, schemes, fabrics, whichever, how does it make them feel safe? And you just then see them respond to that one person and the other one. So yeah, great, wonderful, sign off. It's not my bag, but yeah. So read the room.
Interesting. So compassion and empathy.
Huge. I mean, we're creators, and I think it comes back to what Simon was saying before about that relationship. And then when it potentially goes sour, I mean, that client might have had a bad day, something at work, something in a relationship, unhappy thing in the family. You just don't know. So empathy again. But when it does turn, and we've had this, you have to get professional again and know it's not personal. I think we as designers do. We take everything a lot to heart. And again, with the age thing, you realize that, no, this is not personal. And you then go to your process, and you go to, okay, this is what we agree. This is what we'll do. Okay, acknowledge this. Here's a workaround.
Yeah.
And move forward.
Makes sense. Anything to add to that, Simon?
So from the very beginning, I always try and treat everyone as equal, because you don't know their situation, you don't know their setup. And as you sort of move through the project, you kind of start to gauge kind of who's paying the bills, and you always treat it with sensitivity, because so much money is flying out of their bank account. And especially on these big projects, when there are problems, I find it sometimes quite difficult to gauge, like, actually, what is their top limit and how high can they go? So I'm always very aware emotionally when I'm sending these invoices out, what discussions are having behind the scenes, because sometimes they just don't know how big this project's going to become. So I'm always just aware of that.
So communication, really.
Communication is key. Yeah.
And James, I wanted to pick up on something you said a minute ago about sometimes you're dealing with a family office or a client representative. How important is it for the designer to have access to the actual client?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? As much as you can get, but you dealing with the hand you're dealt. You can do your research. You can ask those close, because they'll understand who the client is. Also, I think generally clients like that are very tolerant in terms of maybe we've just been lucky, and I know that continues to its word, but they're incredibly tolerant, and I think quite in the sense that they're quite forgiving. If you get pretty much on the mark, these people are flying around all over the place. So if it's quality, if it's aligned with their sort of values, etc., then the people around them, their gatekeepers, are happy, then you're pretty sure that the client's going to be happy. Yeah.
Have you ever had a situation?
I've only dealt with clients sort of like directly.
Yeah.
But what happens if the representatives says yes to something that the client wouldn't like?
Or worse, the representative is only looking at the price tag and not looking at actually whether it fits the brief.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you could just have that direct conversation with the client, you'd be able to sort of say, well, we've selected this because of A, B, and C, and this is what you told me you needed.
Yeah, I think it comes back down to leadership again. I think once you're in that position of lead, then a client is much more open-minded and receptive. Yes, if you're working within budget parameters, that's obviously hugely important. But if you see an opportunity in a design scheme that you think, look, they're gonna love this. This is gonna really work for them or solve this problem or whichever. When they sit and see it, they'll stretch. They'll kind of go, no, do you know what? Actually, yeah. Do you know what? We will push the boundary here and we will move in that direction, or not. But you give them the choice.
Yeah. So it is important. It is important to have access to the actual client.
I think so. Or it gets fed through, and you have to present it in a way that's communicated in the most effective way. I mean, you hate letting go of something and let someone present your work. It's not ideal by any means, but then you just have to get good at just making it super clear. Clarity and certainty is
Communication again.
Yeah, communication.
Okay, and Simon, you talked about when you drop the invoice on the client and being sympathetic to what's going on behind the scenes, but how early do you talk budgets with the client? Are you talking about that up front to try and lay the groundwork to make those difficult?
Yeah, budget is obviously, we all know it's really tricky because but hopefully about to take on a really big project, and we're talking budget early on while we're doing the scope of works document, and they don't know. So it's very difficult to understand what their actual top limit, like what they physically can spend.
Yeah.
And then they don't always know how to funnel it. And obviously you can get a QS in to help calculate that. But when we're trying to work out our design fee, when you say the budget, it's getting it across to them when you say the budget, what does that actually cover? Because there's so much, it's the actual build, it's the contractors, it's our fee, it's the materials. So you've got to get it across to them really. When we say, what's your budget, we're saying
VAT, of course.
VAT, what does that actually include? But the word budget's quite vague.
Yeah.
It's budget for
the
next bit.
So
kind of right early on.
And trying to pin that down, obviously, is a position of awkwardness as well in that relationship.
Trying to pin it down really, really early on. And then sort of when you get into the end of the design stage, knowing with the experience, there are going to be more things to come. Really make sure that they are comfortable with kind of where the budget is sitting, and just preparing that it could get higher as the build happens. Things could go wrong. Because you can't openly say to someone how much you have in your bank. So you've got to try and really gauge that, and you've got to get that information from them.
Do you think that's a British thing, that we don't really talk or like talking about money?
I love talking about money.
I don't think so. I think it's always a conversation you've got to have. I think the tricky thing is people's understanding. I think the point on what things cost. In the last 5 years, we all saw it. Prices of products going up 40% over that period of time. The project we've got at present, the client made a point. We hadn't realised how prices of products have increased. Sofas, everything, it works, everything. And when you're looking at a decent budget to begin with, and then that in their mind is up 40-50% just because of inflation post-COVID and Brexit, is huge. And you have to reevaluate. But I would say it's probably, looking back, restrictions on budget. And going back to the earlier points on time, we hemorrhage a lot of time on projects. I wouldn't have it any other way if we're going to get the right outcome. But it's not commercially viable for most projects. And I had to make that call a while ago to not attract the wrong work and the wrong clients, which puts you more into a premium high net worth category. But it's just tough. I just operating in a more mass market, working to a budget, trying to design probably in a compressed period of time, which is harder to get it right. It's very difficult. And more breathing space with more time, more budget, and fewer clients.
So then talking about time, how do you go about communicating to your clients how long each stage of their project will take? Do you talk about that as part of the synergy?
Yeah, definitely. We structure it, design process will work too. I think, again, the interesting thing in the last 5 years is the duration of projects. We've had 3-year delays in planning. So we hit a design, agreed with client, and then we're sat waiting for 3 years. And to the point on that particular project, client actually gave up on the project. So our payday of procuring, etc., just never happened, which hurts. But then that's not in isolation. We've had pretty much all but one. All our projects have experienced some serious delay in the last 5 years. And so you have to look at your business model and when you do phases of work and time it. A lot of it is just dealt by the circumstance. So to a lot of our clients, again, in the last 5 years, it's been the outcome of COVID and Brexit and delays elsewhere, hold-ups elsewhere. So we've just had to kind of take it on the chin and just adapt as the client does.
Do you discuss these timings with your clients?
Yeah,
so they understand how long that planning is likely to take and how long the build phase will take and so on?
Yeah, I just sort of because I sort of treat them as a friend, I'm like, look, we want to do this project for you as quickly as possible. I know you're desperate to get into your new home with your family. And I always say, like, really trust us that we're going to try and do it as quickly as possible, but things take as long as it takes. We want to get onto the next project. We've got other projects, so we don't want to be on the project any longer than we need to. So projects are going to take as long as they need to. And I always say, buckle up when we get into the build, because they just think it's just going to put the wardrobe in the next day. And if the joiner gets sick, and we had a situation recently where the fireplace arrived and the guy hurt his back and then went off for 3 weeks. So it takes as long as it takes, but we always say just trust that we're going to do everything we can to get to the end result as quickly as we can. But we can't control. There's so many things, like factors that come into it. So they've just got to trust that we're doing it as quickly as we can without rushing.
And I guess, Simon, it comes back to communication again, because you need to educate the client, not just the work itself, how long the design process takes, because it can't be instant, can it?
No. I think it's just keeping them on top of that and keep managing their expectations as well. We're doing this commercial project recently, and I said in the email, I really want to manage your expectations of how quick this is going to happen, because he wants it all done by Christmas and all for the footfall and things. I was like, we're nearly in October, Halloween's creeping around the corner. We do need time. We've got other projects on. So we can't just sort of slip it in our week. It does take time. So as long as you're really upfront and manage the expectations, you just got to kind of keep to it. But also from their point of view, understand that if they're a business or they're a homeowner, they really want to get into their home, or if they're a business, they really want to open for Christmas. It takes as long as it takes.
It's a balance. And James, I was interested when you were talking earlier about challenging the client and taking their leadership with them. So when you're going through those design stages, the client needs to be involved with it. They can't just leave you to go off and design something and think their job's done.
Yeah, and the design role doesn't change. It evolves slightly because the solutions that you've come up with may need to evolve. And a good one, a classic one that traps a lot of people is August shutdown. If you're ordering Italian furniture, and you're ordering in June or end of June or early July, and the Italian client, product's going to end up turning up end of September, early October, and they're looking at you thinking, well, that's not 10 weeks. Well, you're kind of flagging up early, maybe in the springtime, saying, okay, this is how it's rolling out. You're going to be finding this. If you want to be in for then, we need to look at this differently. Just anticipate the problems, really. You sit down, talk them through, and then you're helping them. You're educating them, you're helping them, you're leading. And quite often as well, I think, you probably also help make sort of efficiencies. There's things that you think, well, look, there's a couple of problems on the horizon. If we did this, we solve them both. And I think that's when clients sit back and go, okay, right, no, this is why we hired you. This is good. Yeah.
And are you upfront with them about how many meetings will be, they'll be needed for? We're going to need 4 meetings through this design stage to make sure that they actually give you the time you need to get those decisions made and make sure that they're happy with the decisions they're making? Does that?
No, I don't think you could call it. Clients to start projects and say, oh, we're great at making decisions. We'll have it like that for you at the worst. And so I think every project is different. I gave up. I used to try calculating, anticipating in an Excel spreadsheet, coming up with fees. And I've given up. Literally have given up. You just kind of keep it simple, because on balance across all projects, you're fine. If you can spend hours just trying to work it out and never get it right. I gave up kind of counting how many meetings we're going to do, because a project, well, there you go. We just had it, a project delayed 12 months, or, how many more meetings am I going to have now? I mean, heck, the design's probably going to change. We sit there, we're about to agree on a design 12 months from now. Yeah. It'll be changed. I'm anticipating it's going to be, because you do.
Do you have those discussions?
Yes. We've actually had this conversation recently. Max, who works with me, is we know how many meetings they're going to have in the design stage, and roughly, we're sort of changing our model slightly, where we're just going to charge our hourly rate forever, because we just don't know how many site visits they're going to need us on. So many things can happen. And again, I think it's really making sure that at the very beginning, to save the frustration when it happens, that the client really understands how you're charging and pricing throughout the entire project. And going back to your point about the shutdown, summer shutdown, it's just gently reminding that when you get to October, November, that, why there is a bit of a delay. And then if there's customs, which we had that recently, when things get stuck in customs coming over here, and the contracts are really wanting the materials, I'm like, yeah, but had we'd ordered it a month earlier, as we suggested, we would have missed the summer shutdown. And so that you just got to keep reminding them of, because they would have forgotten that you would have told them about the summer shutdown. And then it's just keeping, communication, keep being transparent.
Okay. Tough question with you, Susie, coming.
Yeah, no, so I was going to say, I think this is a good one for Simon to kick off on. So the designer's fee proposal has got to be an essential document in all of this.
Yes.
What are the key things that you include when you're preparing a fee proposal?
The fee proposal for me is, again, we've just gone through this whole massive, so the more projects we do, the more tighter we're becoming and really understanding what the client responds to well in terms of fees. So the scope of work document is crucial to really understand what the scope is, because obviously scope creep comes in, and that's a whole different podcast. But and then when you get to the actual fee proposal, it's really laying it in black and white. I detail it really heavily, but almost do a summary section of the main points of what meetings and time cover in stage 1, what meetings in stage 2, and then really clearly what the procurement fee covers and what we're expected to do for that. And then any site visits after stage 2 is all covered. So it's really black and white. So there's no shady areas. And also explaining into the work in your contract and fee proposal what words actually mean. Because before I did interior design, I had no clue what the word procurement meant. Not a clue what it meant. So I can't just assume the client's going to know what procurement means. Yeah. Because so many words, even now I'm learning every day, new words. I'm like, oh my God. So we've got to really break it down to the client. And that fee proposal is it's crucial to how the rest of the project is going to go. So if there is a little bit of a bump, you can just refer back to the fee proposal and your contract, and it's super clear.
So contract's really important too then?
So important, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and James?
James.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I had this big thing about 80-20 rule, and about 80% effort, 20% return, and switching that 20% effort, 80% return. And it's affected our model of what we work on. And purely by accident, we found that we started to get repeat clients with 2, 3, possibly 4 projects in them. So the relationship changed. And we have a contract but it's loose, and we just have an understanding that, look, we've got it covered, which is very loose, and I can imagine BIOD probably would not endorse this, but we just got a good relationship with the clients, and they just go like, we've got it. Just pass it over.
Built entirely on trust, by the sounds of it.
So there is a contract, definitely, and it's phased, and it's in phases, and fees are clear. But it comes back to the fact that we could detail what we'll deliver and deliverables, but it's going to shift, and it does, and it shifts quite often. And it is deliberately, intentionally loose, because then there's freedom to pick up more work. Because it's like, okay, well, you pick up that, yeah, no problem, we'll pick it up. And if it's extra work, yes, we'll fee. But I think to take away, I think we found that contracts got a bit too stuffy, and it got a bit scary for clients. And clients want certainty, and they want clarity, but the clarity they want is probably not what we've been necessarily taught to kind of put forward. It's quite intimidating, almost too rigid. And I might get stung by that one day. So there we go. I'll eat my hat. But yeah, I've found that by being like that, clients have become more, okay, right, I appreciate that. You're my go-to. No problem. It's good. Yeah.
Right. So before we continue, we would like to do a quick shout out to Natural Mat, the organic bed and mattress company based on the banks of the River Exe in Devon. If you're designing a space where wellness and sustainability matter, then this is a name to know. That's right, Susie, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Their beds and mattresses are handcrafted using natural organic materials, no synthetics, no glues, and zero harmful chemicals. Plus, their organic wool fibres make them naturally fire retardant, so there's no need for chemical sprays.
And they're also the first B Corp certified bed company in the UK. Solar-powered workshop, plastic-free packaging, and a brilliant bed and mattress for life initiative. Refurbish, recycle, or donate so nothing ends up in landfill.
And their showrooms are total design inspiration. Each one features a sleep zone with dim lighting, calming scents, and even a bird song soundtrack recorded in the nature reserve by the Devon Workshop. So it's a sensory experience you and your clients will find inspirational.
So Natural Mat, where sustainability meets sleep beautifully. You can learn more at naturalmat.co.uk or visit them in London, Knutsford, Devon, or in the Cotswolds.
It always surprises me that someone's spending, £500,000 or £1 million or 2 million or 5 million with you, and under any other circumstance they would have a robust and rigid contract. And yet clients do seem to be really reticent to sign contracts with their interior designer.
Yeah.
Beats me.
Yeah. I don't know why. Because we have that, and I think if you're leading, if you're giving them, solving their problems, then you're solving their problems. And they'll kind of go, yep, okay, and they look at the cost and the impact, whichever, and they go, oh, this is the way to go. Because a lot of them quite commercially minded, so they'll look at it like a business, and they want quick chat, see what you're proposing, see the pros and cons, great, okay, this is what we're doing, move on.
Do you ever get a client coming to you saying, I've got a contract, sign this, rather than you presenting the contract to the client?
I've not had that, no.
Yeah. I just wonder whether they see a contract as kind of like a defensive measure for you to protect yourself, and that's why they feel...
I also say it's to protect them as well.
Yeah, but maybe they don't see that. Maybe, I don't know. It's interesting.
I've not really had any pushbacks on the actual contract. It's just when there has been, if there has been a bump and we need to refer it, if it is loose, it's like, it's really tricky. I mean, how do you... So I'm asked a question.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, cool.
How do you, like, if it's loose, like, and you did hit a problem, how do you then address it then?
I'd lead with compassion. That's
right.
When COVID hit, I went to see, followed Tony Robbins on virtual kind of events, and when COVID hit, there was a lot of business coaches saying, "Look, lead with compassion." And friends who run businesses, we kind of all got heads together and said, look, I've got deposits and I've got this and don't know what the world's going to, happen, blah, blah. We all kind of just said, look, let's just give it all back. We just say, look, we'll do this, we'll do, no problem, there's your deposit back. There's whatever the gripe is, we bow down. And pretty much every one of us experienced clients just say, don't worry, keep it, hang on to it. It wasn't the response we were expecting. And it was just this leading like that in such a manner, and we got it back. We got that kind of same understanding, compassion. Probably a bit risky, but certainly in COVID, what choice did any of us have? We were kind of trying to we're all learning. But it's something then we've carried forward. And I think all these conversations about the contracts, if you nip it in the bud way before that, as best you can, and for me, it comes back to time, just giving them the right level of time. Because what we're doing on these projects, I look at some projects and how quickly they turn around, especially commercial projects. Especially say restaurants, hospitality, where there's a real business angle to it. They've got to make that operation a success, to race through a design and to implement it and to get those doors open. That design's got to be right. It's got to be a winning design, and if it's not, well, everyone hurts. It's tricky. So time for me to nip that, so it never becomes an issue.
Okay.
A good relationship. Yeah.
Oh, fascinating answers. And when working for a tricky client, how important is it to have a good, supportive, professional team on board with you?
Yeah, good. I think you start to naturally warm towards suppliers that are solid, reputable. I guess it comes to values and belief systems of your own. Again, I suppose with age, you kind of start getting a bit more, I guess, stuck in the mud or a little bit set in your ways in terms of who you want to work with, who your client is. But that goes for suppliers as well, because you don't want to be caught out, you don't want to be tripped up. So yeah, that's important. Yeah.
And the same for you, Simon. I bet surrounding yourself with good people.
Yeah, I mean, Max works with me, and I think I feel like I'm a good person, and I try and always, like you said, give compassion, and that can only get you sometimes so far.
Yeah.
But it's really nice to have a soundboard, and I've learned recently just to really just take a minute, don't react straight away.
Yep.
Just take a minute, take a breather, and really think about what could be going on behind the scenes. Just step back from everything. But having a support team, friends, I've got designer friends who I rely on all day, every day, just to bounce off. And it can be that they give me the confidence to go, actually, you're not crazy. This is bad behavior. And you've got to, that's how we're going to move forward. So your network is designer friends and people you work with is imperative.
Yeah,
but the core is everyone knows you're a good person. You're just trying to do the best you can do.
Yes, we have a rule where if we have a tricky situation and you're composing a difficult email, don't send it that night.
No.
Come back in the next morning, reread it, edit it again, have another think, cool off, and then press send.
Yeah. And this is could be a bit of a taboo subject, but ChatGPT is really good at you could really go absolutely in, get your emotion out into an email, and you can say to ChatGPT, can you just soften this a bit? And actually, sometimes everyone's done it.
That's a great answer.
Sometimes when it does give you the reply back, you're like, actually, that is perfect. That's helped me.
I'm going to do that. Definitely.
Yeah.
So, Simon, you touched on way earlier, about possibly using a quantity surveyor.
Yeah.
Do you do that for your clients? What do you recommend?
I think
again for
on big projects, I think it's really important to help gauge how much the build is going to cost, especially really early on. And then once they've gone through that stage, I've actually got to call the client this afternoon about it, because we're trying to get to that budget bit. I need to have the conversation about, I think we need to get a QS in to really help you manage that bit. So I do think it's important on the big ones when there's lots of money.
Just sort of set a baseline.
Yeah.
And James, do you too get involved with QSs?
Getting absolutely, and getting that big number out early is important. And then warming the client up. I think also warming the client up and saying, you're about to see a big number, sit down, don't worry, it's not the end number. We're not asking for money today. We're not asking for it in 3 months' time, 6 months' time, or even probably 12 months' time. It's a start of a 10. Where do we go with this? Itemized, what comes out, what stays in, because you can't assume anything.
No.
You can't assume where a client's going to spend the money. We had it very recently. Through us, we put a heck of a budget together, which was eye-watering, and sat back, thought, this is never going to go. But we have to present it to learn where we pull back. And clients will spend money on, more often than not, on flexible furnishings, because they can then take them on with them somewhere. It's chandelier, for chairs, wherever tables. And then this particular client just less on that and just ploughed it into, the interior architecture and joinery, etc., which was eye-watering spend. But it's what was important to them. Now, we couldn't have called that, and we couldn't have assumed it either. So we had to put everything in, go all in, and then warm client up and say, look, it's there, but do you know what? It's going to come down. It's better, heck of a lot better.
I think
going low,
ensuring as well that whenever we present the full design and the full budget, is being like, we can come back from this. This is not it.
Yeah.
If this makes you feel uncomfortable, we can work with you to work out where we can pull back. You don't have to have that £10,000 coffee table. We can find another one. So it's just really gauging.
Definitely. And it's a heck of a lot easier to take money out than it is to try and late in the day bring in surprises and add money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's reassuring them that we can go back.
Yeah.
Something like this is it.
Yeah.
But also before you've sold them the dream. That's the other problem. You know, if you sell them that kind of 6-star dream and actually they're on a 3-star budget and you don't find, you know, that's really awful, because then everything you show them from that point on, they will hate.
Yeah.
And that's when that's when the relationship starts to go south.
Yeah. And you give them the options. It's like, okay, we kill beds 3, 4, 5 or whatever and just put the money into the reception rooms or whichever. Or it was their choice. You do your job. You present the options. We can like go through first pass, drop out some things that we think are, you know, we can find for lesser spend, and flag those up, and then that allow client to sit there and say, well, no, but I love an armchair. So keep the spend there. Not so fussed about AV. And do you know what? Control systems. Nah. Or just flick switch. That's great. And you kind of arrive at the right place. But it's informed, and that's the key. No surprises.
And I get the sense from the way you talk about your business that you're quite relaxed about a number of things, but actually there must be process underpinning a lot of it. So in that design phase, I mean, do you have like a design phase program, responsibility matrix? I mean, what sort of things are you sharing that are fixed points for your client?
Yeah, matrix is so when it's tendering process, for example, matrix, roles, responsibilities, specify only, or procure or install through specialist suppliers. So it's black and white. And in tendering, I mean, again, in the last 5 years, the movement in prices, we've got a project QS on board, woefully underpriced, kitchens, joinery, everything. I mean, by a massive amount. And it was quite a shock to them as a professional when we stepped up and said, "So the cost of things." So okay, and we all got heads together, and okay, we now find what the number is. So, but then what compounds that, if there is mixed messaging on, well, if we're supplying tiles, but the main contractors also put provision in for tiles, and you can have the same product costed in 3 times. So clarity amongst the team. And it's very difficult because I think every project has got a mix of different stakeholders on the project, which vary. So it's a new experience with a new team pretty much every time.
Yeah.
And you don't know what people's experiences are, but coming together and saying, okay, let's work this out. Let's get a great tender pack together. So there's no doubling up. And the client looks through and goes, okay. And they can even look, okay, who's responsible for X, Y, Z.
So again, taking that leadership role.
Yeah, definitely. Which at times, you kind of get, architect, you got main contractor, QS even, and ourselves, AV specialist, whichever. No one, architect quite often would take as contract administrator to perhaps take ownership, or a QS may step up. But generally, people are busy. And I suppose it comes back to my time thing, that by fewer clients and trying to take time, which is always difficult to navigate in terms of running a business. But by giving time, you're not rushing even that process, costing. Because get that wrong, and there's another reason for a client to come back and say, why is this costing twice as much? And then, you've got this whole, what we're talking about, clients being awkward. Well, they're not. They're just not informed fully.
Not informed. Yeah.
Or you could have the reverse. You could have made the kitchen even better.
Yeah.
Had you known that there was more budget. So until you get that full design together, and you're at that point where they can really see where it's sitting. Because if the QS comes in and says you've got a budget for here, actually, when you get to the actual design in the kitchen, you might actually end up having more.
Oh yeah, completely.
And the client can stretch to more.
Yeah.
But because you don't know the upper limit, it's really hard to gauge. So that's why it's really important to get. I always sort of like go to the max and how I always sort of say, this is the best it can be. And this is where the budget is sitting, and then we can put it back.
Exactly.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to think, I could have made that look even better had I known we had an extra 10,000.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Go in high. You don't want just look what you could have won. Kind of, it's like, okay, go in. It's for them to pull.
I think clients are always afraid that interior designers are going to go and spend loads of money on purpose. I mean, I try not to. But there is an element to it because you want it to be the best it can be. So you are going to spend the max budget, and then we can bring it back if they feel uncomfortable. But it's better to do it that way than the other way.
And that's where leadership comes in. If you've got strong justification for that,
I tell them why.
And there you go. They're not just looking at a big number and thinking, well, it looks very nice and it's a very big number, but give me more than that. And you think, well, this is why. It's because how you use this kitchen, this, or whether it's for access or whatever. There's a whole number of things. But you put a strong case forward, which is developed throughout a course of design process that we know. Answering the brief. Then if it's too much, then sure, you pare it back. You find ways of value engineering. But generally, there shouldn't be this.
When you say words, shall we value engineer this? They'll quickly say no.
Yeah, that's true. And it depends where. So then spend the money or not.
That kind of go back to it costs what it costs. If you want it to look like this, and you can kind of really gauge when you give them the budget and what the design is. If normally the husband's like, "That's really expensive," I'm like, "Oh, don't worry. We can pull this back if we want to." And then it's kind of what we said about replying to the email. Once they go away and have a conversation about it, it's normally okay. And if it's not okay, then they will flag it.
And that's always an interesting moment. I still get it. You hand that estimate over, and you stop bumbling. You just like, blah, blah, blah. Where's the baby custody for? It's like 4 witnesses in a funeral. So it's like a bit like, and you just don't know because they're just going to go, oh, way up, and they're passing out, or whether just don't batter an eyelid. You cannot assume it.
It's ridiculous. So, Simon, what would you do in a situation if you suspected that your client couldn't actually read drawings or wasn't getting what you were trying to communicate to them, but were too sort of proud to let on?
I assume they can't read the drawings from the get-go. Because going back to my point earlier, like before I came into interior design, I probably couldn't have read a drawing. So why would I expect the clients to understand what these really technical drawings look like from the beginning? So we now model everything up. So every single space gets modeled 3D, and we will always produce visuals for the client to visually see. Because looking at a 2D plan, it's really difficult to visualize. So I assume they don't know how to read a 2D plan. So we model everything up. And also I think it's more exciting for us as well. You can really talk through the space with the client. I guess when they sign off the technical drawings, as long as the technical drawings are exactly as the model of what they've seen, and you talk them through the technical drawings and just sort of highlight really key areas, as long as they sign off on it, then you can't really do much.
Because they've effectively signed off the model, haven't they?
Yeah.
And James?
It amazes me that, no disrespect to architects, but it amazes me how many architects just communicate plans in just 2D. Phenomenal. In this day and age, I find that incredible because you can't. I mean, it takes a mind to kind of be able to interpret them, and even then, you can't really fully fit. You certainly can't feel the space from a 2D drawing. So it's going straight to 3D. The big thing why I point the finger towards, I guess, architects a little bit, not all, because there's some great architects out there, is they're having some of the earliest conversations with client, and a lot of big decisions are not made, but they're pretty much in the narrative and the architecture is being set early and quite often before an interior designer is involved. And if those decisions are being based on 2D plans, based on a client's gone to an architect, maybe slightly in awe of the architects, and the architects come back with plans and they've gone, yep, great, you've given me X amount of bedrooms and reception rooms and things like that. That's what I've asked for. Great, let's press on. We go to 3D, stick that in front of the client, and they're like, did not think it was going to look like that. Oh, hang on, this isn't right. And I had an architect say about a month ago, I found it amazing, just said, we kind of stopped working with interior designers because you keep changing things.
For the better.
The heck? It's like, dude, ask yourself the question, why? Come on.
Yeah.
So 3D. And CGI is amazing.
That's interesting. Sometimes an awkward client might be awkward because of the contractor that they're using, that they might have appointed, that might be advising them or have their ear. So sometimes contractors or cheap contractors, shoddy contractors imposed on you could be a problem. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, you just
can see that one's resonating with the audience.
That's that. Yeah.
Everyone's got red, smirking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it helps personally. So I guess where my engineering background comes in, because I'll fall back on what I know, and you reach out to technical support, but you can put a case forward and put it forward to the contractor and the client to explain why something should be the way it's at. You can make your recommendations, especially if it's off subject and it's on the contractor's subject. You put it out there. Generally on a project, there's a number of good stakeholders involved that other people will be seeing that. And at some point or another, the client will probably realize it too. And what's the decision making the client's gone down for that? Is that contractor a friend? Is it a family member? Is it on price? Well, then you just have to pull them up on it and say, look, great, but we just think this, we recommend that. Leave it with you. Sure, we can work with them if we have to do that, but, and you're just constantly anticipating, potential areas. I think you have to go a little bit further with your design as well. You might setting out drawings or going on site to the point where we did some framework, some beading detail on a wall, supply drawings. And in the end, we spent 6 days unpaid, 6 days drawing all on every wall across the whole house because the contractor wasn't capable of interpreting the drawing accurately enough to get what we were trying to achieve. And we just thought, we just got to draw this on the wall and literally get them stick it on where we're drawing it. It's nuts.
You are too kind, right? Simon, how would you deal with difficult contractors who might be the client's best mate?
Oh, I've heard so many horror stories about it. I mean, there's so many different personality types, and there are some dodgy people around, and you've got to. Oh, it's really tricky. If they're the client's friend and they are just factually wrong, then at the end of the day, they are your clients. You've got to kind of maybe fall in line with what they're saying. But in terms of the actual work itself, if they've chosen the contractor and the work isn't great, it's not really an answer for it, really. You can only do what you can do, and you can't be on site every single day. So we always, from the beginning, say, we do have trusted trades that we've used before, and we know their process. We trust them, and it's really hitting home at the very beginning. The process of working with the designer and the trades is the most crucial bit. And even if the trade that we're recommending is maybe a bit more expensive than your friend, that value in itself of the process and the trust is worth so much, rather than just getting someone because they're a bit cheaper and it could go horribly wrong, which will cost them more money. But it's getting that across to the client. But dealing with the actual contractors themselves, you've just got to just stay firm and fair and buckle up.
Yeah.
Communicate again by the sounds of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It's not easy.
So I'm going to skip one and go to the next. So following on from this thing, kind of coping with that on-site blame game when things go wrong can be very difficult for the designer to manage. James, do you have any strategies for dealing with this dreadful contractor that's been dumped on you?
I mean, you've got to look at what the root cause of the problem is. Go back to that. So no blame culture. It's okay, we're faced with this. I mean, the circumstance by which this arose may be completely unforeseen. And I think you just have to deflect any kind of blame game and just come up with solutions. Certainly, if stakeholders are there, main contractors, if a client is there, whichever, if you're proactively looking for a solution, holding your hands up when you need to, easiest thing to do, and just take it on the chin and just move forward. And I think that's all you can do, and just be part of the solution, because everyone wants a solution at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we always say with the contractors at the beginning, we are a team, and we don't want to blame each other for anything. But if something does happen, I guess you've got to first take a note of what you've done. So, have I done anything here? Is there anything that I've actually done or could have changed? That there is blame on me. And if I've done everything by the book, I have done everything, everything's great, and it is the contractor's fault, it's then having I would have a private conversation with the contractor first. And then if there's still an issue, then we need to speak to the client about it and then just sort it out. But we are a team and we all want the same outcome. And it's just remembering that when you get into the blame game, it can become a bit toxic and a bit really stressful. But everyone needs to remember that we all want a really good project. The builders want a really good project. We want a good project. We want beautiful photographs. The client wants a good home. So it's things just remembering that bit.
Okay. Yeah, and you do have to stick up for yourself a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Conscious I've been sort of saying about compassion and taking stuff on the chin, but I think there's definitely, if you do have a contractor who's probably being a little bit bullish and sort of saying, oh, but interior designers said this, and you should stick up for yourself. You say, look, we're here to do this. We've been instructed to do this. We provide these details. In fact, it's not like this. We had a shower, 3 marble shower trays produced, and the hole was going in the wrong position. It just wasn't made correct to drawing. And the contractors there said, well, look, you've got your trays, we're not changing it now. And you think, well, okay, well, you fall back on your paperwork then. This is a production drawing, or a drawing we shared. It's not correct. But so you do have to step up, but be part of that solution at the same time.
I think it's just respect. I think once the respect goes for the designer's time, I think because design fees can be quite big, and if the client really understands what the fee covers, when you do get into all that sort of backwards and forwards, I think once the respect start to disintegrate of the designer's time, I think that's really tricky to then claw back. You've just got to keep calm, keep the respect moving. But if it does go, I have pulled up a client and said we need to kind of reset this energy, and actually when I said that, it responded really well. I think you just got to
So that was going to be the next question. You've kind of answered it. So, what do you do if things go wrong? Is it possible to reset that painful relationship?
Yeah, I think there is a limit. I think when a line's been crossed with respect, we all want to be respected. It's our job. We're not doing this for fun. It's our business, our livelihood. So, and I'm all about give and take and being moldable, but there is a limit to that. I can't just do 100 extra hours. And if it does become a bit salty, all you can do is remind them politely. And if it keeps going on, you do have to sort of take back control and say, look, we need to sort of reset this. We've got 3 months left of the project. We all want to get to the end. And I try and keep it lighthearted and go, do you remember that time when I said things were going to get really bumpy during the build? This is it.
Yeah.
So it's not, the frustration you're having isn't always actually at the designer. It's just the stress of everything.
Yeah.
I think once you sort of say, when I've said that, they always go, oh yeah, you did say that. And then you kind of calm them down a little bit. So I think it's just getting into their human emotions, but also knowing your self-worth. And, a lot of us have our own businesses and we've worked so hard to grow these businesses. So I think it's just sort of standing up for yourself, but not being like, you signed this contract. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
Once you start doing that, I think it's game over. Yeah. I think it's, you can't come back for that.
No opportunity to send chocolates or flowers or anything.
No.
Okay.
But no, I think at the end of the day, we want to get to the end of the project. And if you do have a difficult client, it's just knowing your line.
Yeah.
And it is okay to walk away. If a line's been crossed and the designer is at their wit's end and it's just, you can't salvage it, you've got to just know, I think, when to say enough is enough. But obviously, try and avoid that.
That's tough to know unless you've been through it and have the experience, isn't it?
Yeah, and in the moment, it's not nice. But I think the end game, if client is still able to move in for Christmas, that kind of thing, you still hit that, then to be honest, it'll be a distant memory, in a lot of people's minds. And I think also the other reason for being part of the solution is that there will be a day when you do drop the ball, and to have people who's, back your head down the line, and you have that relationship, they'll cover yours because they all want to get off-site completed.
Okay, so what do you do then when a client threatens you with legal action?
I've never had. Can I say that?
Say that.
I've never been in that situation, fortunately. For me, it's
what would you do?
What would I do? I mean, take legal advice, contact the BIID and speak to the legal team.
Tell your PI insurers first off the bat for today.
I mean, the key thing, it should never get that far. Unless the client is in a particularly difficult situation and they're pulling a fast one on you, then to be honest, you'd probably got a watertight case that if someone did push it, then you're sound, you're safe. Not to get wound up, it would, you'd have sleepless nights. It's the same like if someone's questioning your work. You don't sleep. It's like you take it personally, and you shouldn't, but we do. So I would say, it shouldn't get that far, and if it has, well, there's probably bigger things going on.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Simon,
Go on.
Well, we go. That's what I'd say.
Just what he said. Okay.
You go on then. That's what I think. When it gets to that point, I have experienced it, and it was it was out of my control, like completely out of my control, and everything was covered on my end. So I kind of knew, and I sort of pleaded and didn't plead, but reminded everything of the process, and it did get to that point, and I was like, if you want to, go for it, to do it, and we can resolve it in court because I've got everything my end and I've tried to resolve it. You do get to a point, I've only had it once, where you can't do anymore. So if they want to, do it. Obviously, not ideal, but sometimes you physically can't do anything else. You can't do anything else. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today, Simon and James. It's really been a fantastic discussion.
Great insights. Thank you both so much. Thank you also to you, our live audience, and our hosts at Design Central Northwest for their hospitality. We do hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please do get in touch on our social channels. We're at Interior Design Business Pod. The Interior Design Business is a Wildwood Plus production. Thank you.